Horatio Nelson and the British fleet charged headfirst into the Devil's Mouth. Outnumbered and outmanned, he sent up a signal to the rest of the fleet in this mighty struggle of to be or not to be. It read, "England expects that every man will do his duty." The battle erupted in fire and fury. Nelson's bold strategy shattered the enemy lines, leaving 22 enemy ships destroyed or captured, while Britain suffered none lost. Amidst the chaos, a sniper's bullet struck Nelson. He lived long enough to hear of Britain's triumphant victory, at the cost of 1,700 British casualties, compared to over 13,000 French and Spanish. Triumph was his, though life was not.
Evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's stream. I'm going to be joined by Tracy, and we're going to be discussing the Fighting for Justice campaign, which is about getting justice for 3 boys that were murdered on the 26th of January back in 2018. I'm honoured to have spent so much time with Tracy and trying to raise awareness as to what happened to the boys, and the fact that the driver was given the most lenient of charges so that they could bury the truth, basically. So Tracy's spent the past 7 years speaking out and trying to get justice for her son. So I thought it was important to get Tracy on, and because there's a lot of people that might not know about the story. In fact, I know there is, because I do get comments about it quite frequently. What we're going to be doing, we're going to be having a discussion, and then we're going to be playing the documentary that Tracy produced, which highlights just how far the Metropolitan Police went to cover this up. Basically, it's absolutely horrific, and she's been campaigning, ever since, and we need more women like Tracy. So yeah, let me bring Tracy in. Evening, Tracy. Hope you're well.
Yeah, hi, James. Fighting and surviving, as always, is the only answer I can ever give to that at the moment. Yeah. But thanks for having me on and doing a stream. Once again, you've done many over the last 7 years. You've always been consistent where the boys are concerned. So just to let you know, I appreciate that.
Oh, that's really kind of you to say. I mean, like, I remember when we first started communicating, and you explained everything that happened, and then obviously we went on that journey across the UK. We went all over the place, even to Wales, where anything could have happened. We could have been poisoned, but we did it because we were trying to get justice. And the fact that you're still having to fight 7 years later shows exactly how corrupt the UK state is, and the judiciary as well, because what's happened to you is it's absolutely despicable. Like, and the thing is as well, we see so many of these crimes that are taking place today. People have become desensitized to it, but people forget as well. And that's what the purpose of, that's why I wanted to do tonight's stream, to put this firmly back in people's memories. So obviously people can, get out and support you and help you in what you do. Like, it's really frustrating. Like, you've been everywhere, like storming the Attorney General's office, the coroner's office as well, like police stations. You've left no stone unturned. When was it that you first started speaking about the boys' story, Tracy? Was it at Speaker's Corner, wasn't it?
Well, we were speaking about it prior to that, but that was more within our community and amongst the families, because this happened on a Friday, and by the Monday we knew the police was lying. So we tried to follow processes at first, because that's what we'd assume, follow the process, and in the system is going to listen to you if you follow their process. But we noticed they wasn't listening to us. The police was ignoring us. We was asking for meeting after meeting with them. And then one day I was sitting there thinking, how am I gonna get this out to the public? What has happened to our boys? Because the media were lying. The media were feeding the public the police's narrative version, and that's all it was. It was a story they made up. It wasn't real. Their version was not real. And so one day, like I just said, I was sitting there thinking how I'm going to get this out. And one of the other family members said, Speaker's Corner. And that's why we ended up on the 18th of March in Speaker's Corner, speaking out and trying to tell anybody who would just listen to what happened to the boys. And it went from there, basically. Are you there, James, or have I been frozen?
No, sorry, it was me. I had my mic muted, so there was no echo for you. What I was going to ask is when you first obviously went public with this, I know you said you were doing it in the community, but did you get any pushback from the police straight away? Did they tell you not to speak out about it? Because obviously, I can imagine. Well, I mean, we know how corrupt the Met are.
Yeah, no. And if someone had told me not to speak out, I wouldn't have listened to them anyway, to be honest with you. But no, we wasn't told to speak out. Further on in late 2018, I did get a call from someone who was trying to tell me what to speak on and what not to speak on. But again, as I said to them, I'm out here fighting for 3 boys who were murdered. Not only are we lied to, their friends, their family, their communities, the whole of the UK was being lied to. And no, I'm not going to stop speaking out. An injustice, like you said earlier, when you started talking, you said about people being desensitized. We can't live in a country, in a society where injustices become the norm. It's dangerous enough as it is. So we can't allow injustices to just become the norm. How many times do people now read stories in the newspaper, know the version they're being given isn't the truth? Because you see it on Facebook, you see a story come out and you'll see the comments and you see that people do realise, hang on a moment, there's something's not quite right about this story. The police are not telling the truth. But then another story comes in and then that story gets forgotten about and put to the wayside. You know, and it's a very dangerous thing to allow any injustice. All injustices matter. You know, something that affects someone and their life and their families and their communities, that matters, and it should matter to everyone. But obviously we're in a system where they don't action anything and they don't have any empathy, and they're not here to protect us. They're just here to protect themselves.
Yeah, 100%. One thing I do remember, obviously spending so much time with you and you know, going the places that we did, was your ability for other people to reach out to you. There were quite a few victims of injustice that reached out to you because of the stuff that you were doing, and it's just like we need more people like you that are able to inspire people to speak out that might not have had a voice before. Like, you know, in particular with all of the Yellow Vest activists, apart from all the infiltrators, like, you know, it was giving people whose cause wasn't as, you know, well known, like a chance, basically. And I just thought that was one of the things that, you know, it was an extreme positive, was obviously you being able to help these people, them reaching out to you. But it's just sad, because no parent should have to suffer what you've had to suffer. And the fact that there's been so many people that have been complicit in this cover up as well. You know, over 50 serving Metropolitan Police officers, your politicians, your Mayor of London. It's infuriating, and people should be angry about this. Like, this I remember when, like I said, we in 2018, 2019, when you told people about it, and the emotion that it evoked in people, because it's so heartbreaking, and just the injustice of all of it. But the fact that you're still here, you're still fighting away, you're not going anywhere, you're not going to self-censor, you're not going to shut up. That's a testament to you as how strong you are as a woman as well. I just wish that, well, I mean, what can people do to help you? Like, if there's people watching the stream that wanted to try and help you, I mean, what would they be able to do?
It's very hard to answer that question, because whatever route we go down, we're blocked. So if we try and raise funds for private prosecution, which is what we want to do, we're blocked. As you know, in December 2018, Brian the Lion was threatened with arrest because he was trying to go around collecting. And when we tried to set up a GoFundMe, they closed it down and paid everyone's money back, because that's the one thing they don't want us to do, is get into court, because they know every piece of evidence points to the fact that this was deliberate and not an accident, as what they try to portray it as.
Yeah, 100%. The narrative that was put out straight away from the media, that the boys were walking when it happened, the accident, and that's a complete falsehood. They weren't, because they were saying they were stood stationary at the bus stop. And the media put that out straight away, and they've always. It's just horrible how the state basically used the media to force the narrative that they want. The way I look at it is 3 children lost their lives that would have gone on to achieve great things. 3 families have been forever hurt, and yet there's no accountability. The people that have covered it up are probably still in their positions, barring a few, and it's just wrong. And the fact that the media went out of their way to try and smear you and the campaign as well speaks volumes. I remember that BBC woman, and they did that because people were listening to you, and people were coming out in numbers to back what you were doing, and that scared them because they weren't able to control it.
So then they tried to discredit me as a mother and discredit my personality and everything of whom I am. The only way they can do it is, it's all psychological operations, psychological warfare, and that's what they do, and that's what they use the media for on the people as it is, and to use people's emotions to make me look a liar. The lies we've had, even about the fundraising, everything. They will go out of their way to try and either block you doing what you've got to do, because they know what the truth is. They know our boys were murdered, and they need to keep that hidden. And one of their ways in doing that is to discredit me, because by doing that, they hope that puts people off me. They block me on a lot of the social media platforms. I'm mostly blocked really heavily on Twitter. Can't get out on there yet. They portray it in the media as one of the most free speech platforms. It isn't.
I know 100% it's selective free speech.
Yeah, exactly, unless it suits their narrative.
Yeah. And then this is the thing as well. Things are, I think, one of the most frustrating things is seeing how the majority of the population just go along with things. And I think that's frustrating, because if they weren't as docile and as glued into the system as it was, I think, the state wouldn't get away with as much as they do. But like I said, the lies and the smears, though, that they try to put on you as well, and especially these horrible people that are supposedly on the same side, and the thing is, it was like, for instance, we'll say, oh, that person is at your demonstrations, she's a Nazi, he's a Nazi because that person's there, but that person is also at Tommy Robinson demonstrations, and they're not being, then they say nothing. Then it's just that I think the problem on that side is the right, and is the fact that it's all egos, it's controlled, it's about people wanting to create their echo chambers where they're able to go off from it. And the problem with that is cases like this get forgotten about, and for me this should be at the forefront for getting justice. And that's the reality of it. Like you said, there was the letter that was wrote to the Attorney General as well, Trace. And for me, that was just the clincher. I mean, how many years ago was that written?
That was on the 1st of August 2019. A letter was written to the Attorney General by my MP at the time. And I will add, in the last 7 and odd years, the only member in this horrendous system that is only meant to govern us, but is actually ruling and controlling everyone, the only member who did help was my MP at the time, Nick Hurd. And the reason why he did, I'd had many meetings with him before he wrote this letter, but I went to a meeting at Parliament and we took 4 pieces of the evidence with us and we showed it to him. And that is what prompted him to write the letter to the Attorney General. And he also wrote in that letter that he saw part of the evidence and it now leaves that in his mind. It was a very strong letter. It was a very good letter. I mean, as we know, a few weeks later, he was shipped off to the Northern Ireland office. Then after that, he stood down. But at the end of the day, he did write that letter. And I'll always be grateful for that. At least someone in that system did try to help. Excuse me, James.
I know problem.
You know, there must be a lot of good people in that system because there's too many people in it for there not to be. But the good people have got to stand up to the bad people. For there to be changes, and things challenged and rectified, they've got to stand up to them.
That's the problem, though. People's willingness to comply. That's the issue. People, and it's easier for people not to stand up. I'm not saying I support people doing that. I'm saying that's the vibe I get from the general population, as though unless it directly affects them, they're not going to get involved personally. But if it does, and that's the problem with having that attitude, is that's what leads to your fractured communities. And it shouldn't be like that. And the fact that so many politicians go on, Trace.
Sorry for butting in, but I just want the sad thing is, you're right in what you're saying. There are a lot of people out there that, well, it hasn't happened to me, so I'm all right, but it could happen to them tomorrow. You can't. When my son went out that night, I was expecting him to come home. He was on his way to a 16th birthday party and he didn't come home. And that's what, it should matter to everybody. Any injustice should matter to everybody. It isn't the case. And there are a lot of people that it does matter to. The support we've had over the last 7 years from many people, just, normal men and women of everyday life who didn't even know our boys, still come out with me now, and still support me now, like you do, James, 7 years in. So there are a lot of people that didn't meet our boys that do have the empathy for that. But like you said, it's going back to desensitized. When things are being allowed to become the norm, oh, that's just another injustice. What's next? Let's see what happens tomorrow in the paper, and so on and so on. And it's got to stop. Enough. And all the injustices, there's what I do notice, sorry for butting in, what I do notice is the amount of movements that, may be there for injustice. Let's say their movements and injustice and that one's an injustice. They should be uniting together. They shouldn't be separate. There should be unity.
Yeah, 100%.
Or separate.
I said this as well. I said that if as many people cared as they claim to, then all of these different groups, like organizations and individuals, the figurehead of each one would all sit down together and say, right, we need to actually change this. We all need to come together. We need a list of demands. This is what we want. This is what we stand for. And this is what we can do. But unfortunately, there's too many, and people get arsy when you say this as well. But I'm not one for, caring about hurting people's feelings anymore, because it is literally a system where everything's getting worse by the day, and we're losing more and more of our freedoms. And the thing is, like you've said, like this normalization of victims of injustice, it has to stop. We can't be a country that allows that to happen. And that's the thing. It's almost like we've lost our bottle. It's like people, and again, I think it boils down to selfishness and materialism as well. It's like when you get that argument where they go, oh no, the police are on your side, he's just got a mortgage to pay. And for me, that's just like, no, the police aren't on your side. And what the police do is actively target, victims of injustices like yourself. Like the way that the Metropolitan Police have gone after you has been absolutely disgusting. And what they've actually done is absolutely despicable as well. Just before we were played the documentary, so just what I was going to let people know, we are going to be watching the documentary, and then if anybody's got any questions while it's going on, I can just pause the documentary, and Tracy will be happy to answer them, I think. And yeah, because it's important. I want people to see it as well. It's had over 500,000 views so far, but it needs as many eyes on it as possible, because people need to know about this horrific crime. And it's not only is it the fact that 3 boys have been murdered, it's the fact that it's been covered up and the truth has been severely distorted. There's been no accountability, and ultimately, the families are still suffering. Like, Tracy didn't want to get involved in all of the, politics and activism and speaking out, but she was forced to do it because of what the state did to her child. And as another parent, I know myself that if that had have happened to my child, I'd want people to care. I'd want people to be speaking out. So it's important I hope you don't mind me saying this. I'm going to say it anyway, but I wanted to do this stream as well because there's been a bit of a warped perception and a narrative that's been put out about both Tracy and myself. And the facts are, Tracy is literally a mother that's fighting for justice for her child. That's it. She's not a racist. She's not Islamophobic. She's not all of, anti-Semitic, everything else that they've falsely accused her of being. So this stream was to basically stick 2 fingers up to those people as well, and to basically say that you've tried to sabotage a campaign about getting justice for murdered children, and you want to try and claim you have the moral high ground. You don't have the moral high ground at all, and those actions that these people have done are, in my eyes, absolutely disgusting, and normal human beings don't do that. But again, that just highlights how, corrupt and moralless British society's become, because anybody with an ounce of decency would never make up lies or try to target something that's literally so pure and innocent. I hope you don't mind me saying that, Tracy, but it's frustrating, and because there's been these attempts to smear you as well by the state and what they do as well. So I just wanted to get that off my chest as well, because some of the stuff that you've been called and people have tried to accuse you of is despicable. Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine, James. Thank you.
So what I was thinking was I'm going to present the screen, so we'll go straight into the documentary. Let me just, hopefully my internet will be up for it. I've not got the Ethernet cable yet, but I'm going to go out and get one tomorrow. So hopefully it will make the stream will be fine. It will just make it run a bit better.
Thank
So let
you.
me just,
I can only see certain comments, so which I think is coming from my Facebook page. So I'm just
okay.
going to say, if anyone's got any questions during the course of this, put them in the comments, and if I see them, I'll answer them for you.
Okay, yeah, there's a couple of comments from X. Blaze, justice for the free. Justice needs to be done, not just seen to be done without consequences. And then we've got Diane Seal, justice for Josh, George, and Harry. And then I think that, yeah, the comments are going to come through on the right-hand side. But yeah, evening, everybody. Just remove that so we're able to start.
Yeah, you got
Right.
a spammer in the comments.
Yeah, you have to delete it from your side. I've just tried to. Only your guest can delete the comment or ban the user.
Oh, right, got you.
So it might have to be done from your side. But so yeah, guys, this is the documentary that was put together by Tracy. I'm gonna hit the play button now.
Three teenage boys have been killed after being hit by a car while standing at a bus stop in West London last night.
They were also standing near to the bus stop behind me with a group of other teenagers who police say were all unharmed in the incident. It's difficult to know exactly what happened, but there are some markings presumably made by investigators on the road along here, and it would appear that the car has hit a wall, a fence, it's even hit an ambulance, sorry, not an ambulance, a lamppost, which has been shorn off.
Throughout the day, more and more people have been coming here to leave flowers and pay their respects. It's thought the three teenagers who lost their lives were all aged around 16, and we've been told that they were on their way to a party. Many of the people who've been leaving flowers just across the road, you can see behind me, have been family and friends. Many of them look visibly upset. Now, police don't know if what happened was an accident, but they're not treating it as terrorism. A car mounted the pavement, and it's believed it's at that point that it then hit the three teenagers. What we do know is that a person inside the car, which was a black Audi, was arrested. He's a 28-year-old man. He was taken to hospital, and now police are appealing for witnesses.
An investigation's underway into the deaths of 3 teenage boys killed when a car ploughed into them as they were walking to a party. Flowers have been laid at the scene in West London where the collision happened yesterday evening. Police have arrested a 28-year-old man who was in the car. From the scene, Olivia Kinsley reports.
3, 2, 1.
For a few minutes this afternoon, police closed the road where the crash happened for friends and family to say goodbye to 3 clearly much-loved boys. They're said to have been walking to a 16th birthday party just a few hundred metres away when the crash happened.
The boys started to unload the ambulance with everything that was in there, first aid kits, everything. A boy came and stood, because I was in the car in the passenger seat, I had the window down. He was standing next to me on the pavement, and he was on the phone to, I think it was his mum or his dad, saying, "Oh, my friends are dead." He was crying. He was had his hands on his head, and he was saying, "Oh, Mum, they've killed our friends." And I just listened, and I remember he kept saying, "Please come and get me, please come and get me." And I don't know what she must have been saying, what's going on, because he kept saying, "Oh, yeah, they're dead, Mom, they're dead, please come pick me up."
Was one of the first on the scene immediately after it happened.
I could see the incident in front of me, and I had called them at that point, and there was a bus driver in front of us, and he came over and said, "Oh yes, there's someone dead in the road." He came over to us and he said, "Oh, who are you on the phone to?" And I said, "Oh, I'm on the phone to the emergency services, I'm waiting to get through." And he said to me, "Oh, there's no point in speaking to the emergency services. They're already dead, there's no point. And then he walked back over towards the entrance to the cemetery, which on the left-hand side, just in front of his bus, and he was having a cigarette, and this guy came over in the back of his jacket. He had a response officer. He wasn't a police officer or anything. I thought maybe he could have been, but he wasn't. He had a cigarette as well, and I thought, this is strange.
I mean, people just drive like lunatics, you know.
Right, I've paused it at Tony Kitchen, Trace. Oh, let me unmute your mic. Sorry. Right, there we go, Tracy.
Right, thank you. I'm glad you've stopped it here, because what you just heard was a young lad just prior to this telling you what he saw, telling you that night that he saw a man wearing a jacket that said "Response Officer" on. Now, this man here, called Tony Kitchen, you can see on his jacket, says "Response Officer." And here he is talking to the news. Then in a second, you will hear me speaking to him. But I just want people to realise that this must have been the man that the young gentleman was talking about, who he saw talking to the bus driver.
Okay, right. So I'll press play now.
Bad weather, good weather, they don't care. They take that 60 mile an hour speed limit to the extreme. It's a 60 mile an hour road, and cars and vehicles drive up and down here sometimes like it's a speed trap. Now, this road's busy 24/7, and if I'm being totally honest, I'm surprised that there hasn't been more accidents along here.
I take it that you was the security guard in the lorry park that night.
I wasn't there personally that night. I'd finished. I think I finished about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and then I started again the following day. So I wasn't actually working overnight. because it's a Friday night, if I remember correctly, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it was. The only reason I asked that because there was a picture taken of the car, and all the newspapers apart from I think it's one or two have accredited that picture to you.
Yeah, that was sent to me by the person working, and obviously when the following day, when I was there the following day, the press, they asked me how I knew about it. I said, well, I got a call from the guy working on that night. Told me what happened. He sent me a picture of the car, and obviously they asked if they could have a picture of the car, and I said, well, yeah, I couldn't see any reason why they couldn't.
Okay, so it wasn't actually you on duty in the lorry park then?
Not on that night, no. I'm not sure I'd even be able to get help because it was we've had so many staff come and go since then. I couldn't even tell you offhand who was actually working that night.
Oh right, okay then. So you don't remember who sent you the picture then?
I couldn't honestly tell you. I couldn't, because I say that wasn't my security contract at that particular time. I was working for another company then. It's a long story with that, but I couldn't even remember who was working that night. Like I say, they sent me the picture and they'd phoned me up and told me what happened, but he said, there's been a big accident outside. I said, and he said it looks like there's multiple fatalities. Not my issue, but I said, mate, that's not a thing to joke about. Thinking he was exaggerating it.
Yeah.
And then he sent me a picture of the car. Sent me that picture of the car, which obviously I forwarded on to. I mean, I think it was ITV or whoever the news channels were. Then obviously they wanted to obviously put his name. I said, well, unless I can speak to the guy working, I said I don't really want to pass on his name and details just like that. But obviously, that time in the morning he was still asleep.
Yeah.
So I said, well, look, just credit it to just thinking, if you need to put a name to it, then just put mine. It's not not an issue, like.
So do you know if this other photographer got in touch with you then and asked if he could claim the rights to
this is first communication other than when I spoke to the press that night. That night.
I'm just going to pause it there because he's one. Sorry to interrupt. He's one of the most dishonest people that I've ever come across. He was just lying from start to finish as well.
Well, absolutely. When you look at what the evidence there is, you've got the young lad saying that someone approached the lorry driver, the bus driver, and was speaking to him, and on his jacket had response officer. And there is Tony, the next day, response officer on his jacket, talking to the press. He then just said there, and that's why it was repeated, that he then said when he spoke to the press that night, well, hang on a moment, you just claimed you weren't there. The picture was sent to you, but you don't know who sent the picture to you. And also, what was shown was a bit quick, so I don't know if everyone saw it, but on his own Facebook page, he had put that he'd only had 2 hours kip the very next day. So there you are, and I'm well aware that he tells people that who have seen this video that the recording is edited. That recording is not edited, and there is a lot more to that recording.
Yeah. It's how don't you know who you sent it to or who sent it to? Like, that's just it's just the fact he just lies from start to finish. But like I said, there's just some people that really are scum, and he's one of them. Like I said, you can tell he's lying, and you can tell by his voice, and especially when you're speaking to him as well. I just don't know how you could have the moral compass to be able to lie to a woman that's just seeking justice for a child. Like, this is what I mean. These people were horrific, and the fact that, I mean, the whole case from start to finish has been just an absolute travesty with what they've done. And I mean, I'm going to say this, but thank God they've got you, Tracy, because you're the one that's been at the forefront of this. You're the one that's took the brunt force of it as well, in regards to a lot of things that happened. But thank God you're still there, speaking out every day and raising awareness and showing people what they've done. Because I'm not being funny, but it wouldn't be being spoken about if it wasn't for you. And like you said, the people that that support the boys' cause and that have done for years. I just thought by this time that, I know this is probably being really naive, but when we first started this campaign, when you first started the campaign and I joined on, and we were going to all of these different places and showing people, I actually thought in my head that, do you know what, we're going to do this, it's going to happen. They're gonna put him on the right charges, and justice is going to prevail. And then just to see that it's not, it's really frustrating. And I can't imagine how it feels for you as well, because not only do you have to, grieve for your son, but you've also got other children and grandchildren, and it's really horrific. And a lot of people, I think sometimes they discount the impact that it has on the families of the victim as well. And I've seen that firsthand with you, Tracy, and I just want to highlight again how courageous and strong you've been, because this hasn't been easy for you. And like I said, I just hope that, and again, this is hope now, but we need people to start rallying behind this, and it needs to be, what would it be? It'd be a retrial, wouldn't it, under the correct charges?
Absolutely. That's, the truth needs to come out. And that's one of the reasons they stop us getting to court, because they know the truth. You had the media portray to the people of this country, and to me, and to the other families, that the car lost control, mounted the pavement and killed the boys. That was it. That's what they said in court. They showed no evidence in court. As you know, it's based on one witness that will come up in this documentary, so I won't mention him at the moment. But in their own collision report, it clearly stated he never lost control of the car. Not only did he not lose control of the car, he didn't even brake. And you can see that clearly in the CCTV. As a mother, I would find it not normal to fight for your child that's been murdered and covered up when you know that's a fact. This isn't me just having something to do. Someone said to me a long time ago, is this what keeps you going? No, it isn't. It isn't. This is the right thing to do for my son. My son was murdered with his two friends, and that was covered up. This is the right thing to do. And a lot of people just assume that I'm just a mother out here because I haven't accepted what they said or the charges. No, I haven't accepted the lie, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and you're a courageous woman, Tracy, and people support you for that as well. And like Mandy quite rightly says, Mandy Jones, people need to get out, fight for our kids. We all know, and that's exactly right as well. It's just, like I said, with the Justice for Our Boys case, it's the sheer miscarriage of justice and then the cover-up that's ensued it. And obviously 50 serving police officers that have been involved in it, as well as others, and the fake witness. But we'll get to that in the documentary. So I'm going to hit the play button. Guys, if you have got any questions, do as Tracy was saying, put them in the comments. and she'll be able to answer them. And I'm going to hit the play button again. Tracy, let me know when you want me to stop it, and then yeah, you can comment on that. Sweet.
I mean, yeah, I've had no contact with anyone regarding that photograph. Obviously, that on that particular Saturday morning, the press were asking if I could give them that picture. So I was WhatsApping it to every journalist and from BBC, ITV, and whoever else was there. But like saying, no,
so they was all aware. So the press was all aware it wasn't you working that night, and you had no info when they spoke.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because obviously when I come out, they said, "Oh, do you know what happened?" I said, "Well, no." I said, "I wasn't here last night." I said, "But I understand the vehicle for whatever reason mounted pavement and whatever happened." I said, "But no," I said, I wasn't here last night on that night, so I couldn't."
Yeah.
I didn't see what had happened. I mean, to be fair, even the guy working wouldn't have seen what had happened.
No, we've got the CCTV, so we can see that what the person working did was come out. He didn't turn right where all the boys were and needed help. He turned left and went up and took a picture of the car.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah. So, but we wanted to know whether any statements were taken from the police, because what the police did, they took all the witness statements and retyped up their own versions. So that was, so that was why, exactly what they did in Hillsborough. So that was another reason why we wanted to talk to you to see if you had made a statement, and then we'd know whether it was missing or not.
No, like I say, the only people I spoke to were the reporters that wanted their story. But like I said, because I didn't see anything, I could only say, it's a very tragic incident, and people would drive along that road like absolute pillocks at the best of time. But obviously that wasn't really related, really significant to obviously what happened. But that is all I could tell them.
Yeah. Okay, then. If it does come to your mind who it was at all, who took the picture, we just basically want to know if a statement was made to the police.
I don't recall them ever saying. I think basically they had a look outside and then disappeared back onto where they were working. I wasn't aware of anyone giving any certainly to the police regarding that at the time. I mean, and certainly didn't happen afterwards. I know that.
Yeah.
For an absolute fact, but nothing was said at the time. From obviously when I went back there the following morning, nothing was mentioned about the guy working overnight giving a statement. So
okay then.
But
no, that's great.
If by some miracle I can track back who it was and find out, I'll let you know. But I very much doubt I'll have any joy with that, to be honest.
Hello? Oh, hi. Is that Gavin I'm speaking to? Yeah. Sorry to trouble you. I'm from an independent production company. We're doing a documentary film, and we're trying to clear some third-party content that's going in the film. Now, there seems to be a bit of confusion over an image that's copyrighted to a few different people, and one of them is yourself. So I'm just giving you a call to see if we can clear that up at all. Now, the image in question was taken on the night of the 26th of January, 2018. The picture of a damaged motor vehicle, there was an incident in Hayes. I think you were there the day after, but there's the picture of the car is on your gallery pages linked to the actual incident. Were you the photographer that took that image? I don't know if you recall the incident. It was, I think there was 3 teenagers killed when a car mounted the pavement. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I do remember it, yeah. I think the best thing is send me an email and then I can see it, because I can't remember this a long time ago. And then I'll let you know. It may have been something that was issued by the police or something. I can't remember, to be honest.
We shouted towards them to say, you know, what's going on? Just can you stop fighting? We're going to call the emergency services. And then I recall at that point, one of the boys came over towards my side of the vehicle, and he said, "Oh, sir, my friend's been killed." She got out of the vehicle and she went round the front of the ambulance, and she stood there and she just paused for a second, and she just kind of looked. And then I remember there were some boys and they came over to the back of the ambulance and she went round too, and they opened the boot and they were just taking out everything. Bags, oxygen bottle in the green bag. And then I remember a couple more minutes later, some police officers arrived on foot, and one of them, he came over, a white police officer. Yeah, on foot. He came over on foot. They were running down the road. One of them was running quite fast. And at that point, I thought, why aren't there police vehicles? I thought that would be the safest thing, because obviously they've been told that there may be a stabbing or just, you know, there's altercation or there's a lot of people. I thought that the safest thing would be to come in a vehicle, but they were on foot. So the first one spoke to me quickly, then told me to leave the scene, and then I saw the other one coming behind him.
So a police officer coming up to the scene of a major incident, knowing you're a potential witness, that immediately tells you to leave the scene.
Yep.
That's it there. Sorry, but to me, that straight away. Why would a police officer tell the witness to immediately leave the scene? Like, surely you'd want the witness there to be able to recount what they've saw, because it's going to help, you know, with the case. You wouldn't tell them to leave the scene, would you? Sorry for interrupting. I know it was coming up to a point, but I just had to get that in, because to me that's like an alarm bell ringing off straight away that normies should be able to pick up on.
Well, exactly. And also, just to firstly say, these young lads, their faces are covered up. But originally, when this was all being done, they was happy for their faces to be shown. But where, you know, it took 2 years to do the documentary Door Stopping, and a lot of footage we had to take out and keep for court, because if we give everything out in a documentary and get into court, then a judge will say everything's in a public domain and we'll chuck it out on a technicality. So it took a long time to do, but the reason why in the end we had to cover these young lads' faces and names in this documentary was because one of them was threatened twice on the street and told to be quiet.
Well, that doesn't surprise me, because everybody that got involved with helping you out came into contact with the police at some point, didn't they? Everybody was like, they tried to scare people off of it. To scare people.
They put people in between all of us, even when we was out on the Yellow Vest demos, you know, and made close friends. They were sending people in infiltrators to split us all apart, to water us down, as you know.
Yeah, 100%. They couldn't have. I remember we were getting. Do you remember? I won't mention the actual person, but saying, "Oh, you need to create a committee. We don't know who these people are that are marching and all this." It was like that's how scared of it they were. Silly people as well, because we were standing for what is right, and that really was starting to gain momentum. And it's really frustrating because at the end of the day, the primary cause was about getting justice for those 3 beautiful boys. I'll never forget the day, Tracy, and I'm sure you won't either. Sad, but in the Royal Courts of Justice, when they reduced his already lenient sentence even more, and you remember they were that. This is when I knew how evil they were. Do you remember they didn't deliver the judgment in the courtroom that we were in, did they? They went and delivered it in another courtroom with the lights switched out. And then we went in the room.
They switched the lights off.
Yeah, and then the coppers took the hats off.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. It's what
the disrespect, that our boys have been shown. People would not believe unless they'd seen it for themselves.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When you actually explain to people, they really are shocked because they can't believe that it happens. And like you've always said, it's not just an isolated incident. This has been going on for years. It's still happening. So I'll press play on that. But people are being. This is what I mean. That they're threatening witnesses. They're telling them to go away. It's from start to finish. It's been an absolute travesty. I'm going to hit play now, and we'll listen to the rest of these brave young men, because they are brave, and it's going to get to a bit of information that is going to shock people that are watching this, because this is how corrupt the police are.
Yeah, see, initially I remember not leaving straight away, and I think that's what aggravated them, because I thought that wasn't right. And then that's when he got a bit animated and said, can you go, and he put his hand like that, forcefully, can you go? So then I started to turn around, eventually left. And then I remember I was quite angry at that point, because I felt like I shouldn't be leaving. In the mirrors on the side of the car running down the road, and white police officer with a hat. He was wearing a hat, white short sleeve top with the black jacket thing that they wear, and he came over and he said, "Happened," and we said, "Yeah, we see what happened," and he said, "Okay," and he said, "Can you just leave the area, leave the scene?" So there's the bus. We were behind the bus. We were already here by this point. Okay, so altercation's happening. Yeah, we was already here by now. There was no... Is it a van? There was no van. No van. No. No. We was already here because we saw the altercation, and we were the first person. I was the first person to say anything about an altercation in a forecourt of a petrol station. So I know we were there when it was happening. And our car's not even there yet, and this altercation's already over, so... No. So where are we then? That's us. So everything's over and we're arriving. So how would I know that there was any kind of altercation or anything if we weren't there when it was going on? And we were directly behind that bus. I spoke to the bus driver. We sat behind the bus. I had a conversation with the bus driver, and we stayed behind that bus until the point that he left. And all these cars that appeared to be driving through the scene, it's not possible. It's not possible.
So just for everybody that's watching this, so you've just heard what they've said. So they have doctored the CCTV footage. They have altered the CCTV footage. Think of that in your head, what the police have done. They have tampered with evidence to make it look like something. These boys were there. They knew, you know, they've seen the CCTV and they knew the cars that were there on the night. And the Metropolitan Police have doctored this footage in the hope that, you know, Tracy wouldn't pick up on it. But as eagle-eyed as ever, I mean, Tracy, I can't. I'd be, you know what I'm like. I'd be climbing the walls if that. Like this is what I mean. How anybody can deny that that this isn't true is beyond me. The evidence is there, even in this documentary. You know, you're providing the evidence and facts that shows what those bastards, sorry for swearing, have done.
Yeah, they cut out the time and date from the CCTV.
Bastards.
So that they could manipulate it. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the CCTV, even though it's heavily manipulated. There's also a lot of telling signs, if that makes sense. Telltale signs,
Yeah.
I should say.
It's just
So, yeah.
and this is what I mean. People that say, "Oh no, the police are your friends." No, they're not. No, they're fucking not at all. They are the lapdogs of the British establishment. They're not your friends. All they're ever trying to do is incriminate you. They treat the victims as criminals and the criminals as victims, and we're sick of it. You know, everybody's been banging on about two-tier policing recently. This has been going on for years. And you've been highlighting the two-tier system for years as well, Trace. So anybody, Trace, what's for everybody that's watching as well, if you can give Tracy a follow, where's your, if you send me a picture of your username, Trace, or whack it in the comments, and then people can follow. Yeah, because we need to help get this really flowing on X. People need to be outraged at this, and rightfully so. Like, this ain't on. 3 British children have been murdered, and the British establishment have covered it up. It's corrupt to the core. One of the quickest cover-ups in legal history, Tracy, wasn't it? You were there.
This case of this kind ever. Because they wanted to hide it, so they did it as quick as they could in the court with no evidence shown.
Yeah, and that's why. Yeah, but that's why he pleaded guilty at the last minute, right at the last minute, and he was like, "This is what I mean. It stinks," and they did that so that they could try and hide the evidence that they'd got as well, didn't they?
Well, they wanted it hidden so that it wasn't in the media anymore.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want people speaking about it, because we knew they were lying. We was having interviews with the media, and then they was cutting, as a lot of you know what the media do and what they are. They was cutting what we were saying right down into parts to make it look like it was fitting in with their narrative.
Bastards.
Mm-hmm.
Evil. Utter evil. Evening Pooch, thank you for coming in. I know you know all about the Justice for Our Boys case, Pooch, because I've told you endless times about it. Like I said, I've seen a couple of Susie Corbyn as well. There's a name I've not seen for years. I remember Susie was always out on the Justice for Our Boys stuff as well. And rightfully so. People
the first demo as well. Also at the very first demo, Susie.
Oh, but the march from Trafalgar Square down to Downing Street. Yeah, I remember actually.
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Liam Moran, denotice from start to present day. Susan Garner, corrupt. Yeah, everyone in the chat saying how corrupt it is. Right, I'll hit the play button. You're okay. You're not in a rush or anything, are you, Trace?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay, I'm just saying everything's fine my side. Baby's still asleep. And the internet's holding out. So we're all good. I'm going to hit the play button as well. Like I said, if there's anybody that's new to the chat that doesn't know what this is, we're watching a documentary that was put together by Tracy, exposing the establishment and the police for covering up the murder of her son Josh and his two friends George and Harry. So let's get back into the witness statements.
It's not possible. When they walked over to that van, they were walking over to us because that's when they said they wanted us to phone the emergency services for them. No.
We're showing the vehicles moving through.
Yeah, there's no way they can move through.
How does that make you feel?
Just sick, angry and sick, because I know for a fact that I was there when the altercation was taking place. Before it even started to happen, we were there in the car. So the fact that it seems that we've come back so far, we're so much further back in this footage, the question that I'm asking is how would we know? How would I know, being the first person to give a witness statement to the press? There's no information out there. How did I know this happened if we were all the way back? How? Who told me? No one. I didn't know anyone on that scene personally. We were just two citizens coming across this. We didn't know anything. So yeah, sick, makes me feel sick and angry because it feels like a crime against us and our truth.
Yeah, because it's just painting an incorrect picture, and it's just manipulation, really, because we know that did not happen the way that we've just seen that.
And it's just horrible that they would take us, two innocent people, and make us look like liars or paint us out to be much further back. We didn't see any of this. And if the families of the victims were to look at my statements and then look at this footage, they would think that I'm a liar, and that really hurts because we've always told the truth and nothing but the truth. And even here, when you can see the bottom of our car, it's a red car, the altercation's already finished and we were already there. So I know that this is not right.
If Jane Shaw was sat here today, what message would you have for Jane?
I would firstly like to ask her why. Why would she want to be part of something like this? Why would she want to adapt on something? The police, in my opinion, are there to protect us, to protect the people, to come out when people are in need and to take away their problems and to make people's lives better. So the message I'd have to her is if she wants to call herself a police officer or a detective, how can she go home at night knowing that this footage is faked, knowing that there's the truth isn't being told and that innocent children lost their lives at the hands of something which isn't true, isn't as it seems. How can she live with herself? That's all I want to ask her, is how can you live with yourself, and why? Why would you want to be part of this? Why would you? I mean, I'm not sure if Jane Shaw has children, but if she does have children, how can she go home and look at her children and know that what she knows? Because if I was a parent, I couldn't, not having children. I would just think of, imagine if that was my children. So my message to her would be to take a long look at herself and to take a long look at what she knows and to come out and tell the truth, because I would respect her more. Because when I met her, she came into my house, I respected her as a police officer, I respected her for her line of work, and she made me feel calm and reassured. And that's what I would want her to be, not someone who could be part of a police cover-up like this. I don't know how she could live with herself. Thank you.
There was a tape placed across that inn sign there, tape, yeah, and there was a pole here, just over here, yeah, which has been cut out, yeah. On that night, this garage was closed off, yeah, closed off at the point when the incident occurred. Why was that?
Because they cordoned off all the area.
No, it was cordoned off before the incident.
Now, after the incident,
It wasn't cordoned off before the incident.
how would it be cordoned off?
So who
before?
cordoned it off?
The police.
Can you just stop that a sec, James?
Yeah, I'm just going to stop it now. I was just going to say that. Paused. Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, so here's the evidence. Now, we do know that garages, mainly 24-hour ones, at certain points will put a bollard out so they can cash up, or maybe, you know, a truck's coming in and it's going to be filling up with petrol or diesel or whatever. So we do know and are well aware that garages do that. But that particular night, just prior, because people were dropped off there and it wasn't there, but just prior to the incident, that garage was taped off. Not just a bollard, it was taped off. Now, you can clearly see it in the CCTV that it was taped already. Now, you clearly heard that manager there was two managers, because it's a 24-hour shop, garage. You've got two managers, yeah, a night one and a day one. That one there was there at the time, was one of them there, and so was another manager who's not there no more, and that's a different story. But you heard him clearly say it was done after the incident, and here is the evidence to prove it was prior to the incident, because when they get out and run and other youngsters run after them, this is what you see here. And that had a tape. So because they knew we knew it and was questioning it, they cut out one of the impoles, which you just saw a picture of. Now, the other thing they did, they left it like that for a long time, about a year, but we kept going and taking pictures and things like that, because it's all evidence. Because we then done a live and put it in our documentary, that they cut out this impole, because if I go round saying, right, they taped it off from one impole to another, and someone goes and looks and sees only one impole there, they're going to think to themselves, oh, look, well, there's only one impole. How could it have been taped to two? Yeah, the fact was they cut it out. So then once we'd done the documentary and was letting people know, they cut out the impole to hide the fact that there was a tape going from one impole to another. Once we let people know that, they're now gone back and put another impole in. Because it's all psychological. As soon as I tell someone, well, look, here's a piece of evidence, here's this, and look what they did there, they go and change it.
That's insane.
To make it look like I'm wrong in what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's the lengths that they go to. It's despicable.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I can't stand it. I hate the police, and I hate liars as well. And he's another liar. Anyway, I'll put this back on so the people can see. Play. That's it.
Yeah, it should zoom in. You see that tape in front? There, the tape.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you see here? Sorry.
Yeah. Pause it 1 second. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the impole that was cut out after to hide the fact of the tape, because the question is, why was the tape there prior to the incident? Now, you could assume they must have known it was going to happen. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taped it off prior. Right? So you could assume that. That's only an assumption, but it's something you could assume. And what just happened that I was wanted to tell you. That's why I wanted it stopped. I can't think now, James. Yeah, something I saw just before, but I can't think now. So carry on.
Okay.
Whoever got out of the car ran down the road, yeah, and ran onto the forecourt, yeah.
No, he came down that side, then something, he wendelled around.
So, no, I'm not going to film you. Don't worry. Right?
No, you are filming.
No, I'm not filming it.
I know you're filming.
No, right. Well, I'm not pointing anything at you. I'm just trying to find out.
Definitely. How can you point on me anything? I wasn't involved, so I would.
No, but you were here that night.
But no, I was here. I was not here. I was in there. I was in my office. I was working on the computer.
Right.
Then at around 9:30, when the police started coming and everything started coming up here.
About 9:30, 9 o'clock, the police came.
Right. Around that time. Because
when the fight happened on the forecourt.
The fire? No, there
a fight. There was a fight, wasn't there?
There wasn't any fire on the forecourt.
A fight.
There wasn't any fight on the forecourt.
You're a liar because I saw it. I was a key witness. So if you were here that night, then you're lying.
You're not supposed to film me. Whether
I won't film you.
No.
I'll point it away. Have the conversation. Yeah? You're saying there was no fight on the forecourt that night.
This is called the forecourt. There was no fight on this premises.
No, there was. And you know how I know you're a liar.
Whatever happened around, I didn't knew it.
So you closed the station off, yeah? But you don't recall any fight on the forecourt.
No. I came in here, being a manager, I came in here and asked you what you guys are doing here. Is it this guy you're talking about?
No, I want to know who that car is over there.
It was terrific. But I can't give you any answer for what I don't know. Right?
Well, you were managing that night, yeah? Okay. So when all the commotion went off, what did you do? Did you stay in the back? Did you come out? Did you come out to see what was going on the forecourt?
I'm not supposed to interfere anything which is happening within the police things, right? None of our area was covered. There was no fight within our area. There was no happening in our area. And this site was not even involved. It was involved in just such a case that we had some CCTV views which police wanted to see. So they just checked it, and that's all. We were involved in that. Nothing apart from that.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is, you're saying there was no fight on the forecourt.
Exactly. No fire on the forecourt.
I'm here.
I'm just going to stop.
I'm here.
You go on BBC News, you go on Sky, you go on ITV, you go on all of the news premises. It says a fight broke out on the forecourt of the Esso Petrol Garage on Shepperton Lane.
So what?
You're continuously filming me without my permission.
Well, hang on. Stand there. Just stand there. Yeah? I'll stand there. All right?
No, I'm just saying you're continuously filming
No,
me.
I'm not. Look, I'm pointing it over. I'm just explaining to you. Listen to it. Listen to it. I've got CCTV. It shows the angle from that camera. It shows a fight on the forecourt right there. You can see it with your own eyes.
Okay.
Yeah?
So
what's it in relation to?
It's in relation to the incident of what happened to 3 boys down outside the cemetery.
The bus stop? Oh, that one?
Yeah, well,
Right.
that wasn't a bus stop, but yeah, that one. So it's in relation to that. We've got some stuff to show you as well.
Yeah, so where are you from?
We're doing a public investigation.
So
we've got some stuff to show you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got some stuff to show you as well.
Okay, I don't know which watch attended that.
Yeah, I've only joined here at the end of November.
Yeah, yeah.
Before Christmas.
Or just anyone, if there's anyone we can speak to, like here,
check a diary, find out who's
either
on watch.
aware of the situation.
We can have a look and see who was in, because
Thank you.
as far as I'm aware, from memory, we had very little to do with the incident.
Yeah.
As far as the Fathergate involvement was really, really minimal. Because, you know, we get called when persons are trapped, etc., etc., and we weren't called to that. Weren't called to that. Weren't called to that.
Yeah,
I couldn't give you the exact circumstances because I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we've got details that apparently you was called at 9:27 that night. And it was the 26th of the 1st, 2018. Now we have a recorded call to the emergency services, which was made more or less straight away. In that, which we're happy to play you if you wanted to listen, and in that call straight away, which was more or less straight away when the incident happened, they're stating that the car looks like it's going to explode, that there's smoke coming from the car and things like that. So on that notion, I would have assumed that the fire service would have been called straight away for something like that. Isn't that something normally that the fire service would deal with? That's something that is for a fire service. It's not for the police to attend if a car is smoking, is it? It's for the fire service, I would assume.
Yeah, again, depending on what it's difficult to say. We get called to cars smoking all the time, but it does depend on what was exactly said in the call.
Right, bear with me one moment. Are you at the car or? Literally about to be here in 1 minute. Okay. Is there anyone in the car? They've run off. Oh, right, so no one's in the car? No one's in the car. Right. Sorry? Hello? Hello? Hello, what's going on? I don't know, but the car's like burning and everything. I think that's going to blow up. Right, are you all away from it now, yeah? Yeah. And there's definitely no one in the car? No one's in there. There's people there. They said no one's in there. So, but we can't really see them at all. Right, okay. What I'll do then, if an ambulance is not required, I'm going to hang up the phone.
Probably if I looked a bit closer I could probably get the model, but I would say that's an ADL Dart vehicle. You could see there's lights on it inside and you could see something that looks like a building block, but it might be the luggage racks inside.
Yeah.
It's luggage racks inside. It's definitely a hotel hopper because they have luggage racks instead of seats.
Yeah.
Or it might be the one that they've got that's got like an all-over advert for Stonehenge and various Warwick castles and things like that on it. But I can tell you 100% categorically that the video footage, and I'm not saying the vehicle hadn't come along Shepherd's to Lane at some point.
Yeah.
But I'm as confident as I can say from overhearing, and obviously once the police are gone, the guys are talking about it in the office, right? I can guarantee that it came up. None of our vehicles came along just either side of the accident. But I obviously want to be cautious about what I say.
It doesn't make this statement true then.
The three coaches returns on registration of coaches are. I suppose it does show through, does it? I'm pretty sure that they would have done a witness statement in handwriting at the time, because they would certainly need to have it signed. Or unless they did it and then brought it back and had it signed at a later date.
But that still begs the question of them trying to say, or this gentleman, I have my own thoughts on that when they retype up people's versions and don't get them signed by the people. It makes me query that, where they're trying to say that third vehicle that was on the road that night in the vicinity of that collision was City and Circle, and it wasn't. It was a hotel hopper bus, which then makes that part of the statement a lie.
Just want to pause it there just to let everybody know. For any new people that are trying to watch the stream, I don't know whether they're going to be able to on X, because I've just gone to click on it to see if it's working okay. I've just posted actually, and it's saying that the broadcast isn't available. So they're actually actively preventing people from watching the broadcast. It says that I'm live on the thing, but it's hiding it from me. It won't let me watch it. So if anybody else is having difficulties, drop me a message and let me know. I don't know whether to end the stream and then restart it, Tracy. What do you think? Or should we just keep going and then, because it'll be it's still on Facebook, isn't it?
Well, there has been people that have been with us since we started, so it's only fair to finish it for them. We can always do it another time.
Oh, no, Tracy.
There's a young lady there that said it's fine, James.
It's fine.
But
yeah, maybe just...
No, you know what they're going to do? They're going to do like they do to me on Facebook. So it's going to be what they call shadow banned. So only so many people are going to be able to see it.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Yeah, because it's saying live. So I just didn't want people to not be able to watch it, because it's frustrating. It's working again now.
People with us, even if there was only one male or female.
Oh no, I meant
because that's someone else who.
Yeah, I meant to end it and then restart it straight away, but it's everyone in the comments saying it's fine. So, and I can actually see it now on the screen. So, crisis averted. Thank God. It might be the fact that
discuss this clip? Can I just discuss this clip that people have just seen, who just saw that clip? You heard a man speaking, and he says this is a hotel hopper bus in the CCTV. Now, as we all know, that a bus will have CCTV on it, much needed CCTV that we would have seen. Well, the police never told us there was a bus at the scene. They told us that a hotel hopper bus came down that night, and it was a hotel hopper bus at the scene. And the man speaking was the owner, not the hotel, coach, City and Circle coaches. Sorry, I apologise. That it was a City and Circle coach that came down the scene. And you just heard the man who owns the coach company say that their coaches never came either side at that time, and that is a hotel hopper bus, not a coach. Now, in one of the statements I hold, it claims that it's a hotel hopper bus, because they didn't want us to know that it was a bus and that we may have been able to get CCTV from it. Anyway, when we did find out that it was a bus behind that would have had much needed footage, we one of the other parents was emailing the hotel Hopper Bus Company. They kept emailing. It took ages to get a reply. When we did get a reply, they were asking what we want. Then they come back with, oh, well, that particular bus on that night, the hard drive wasn't working.
That's convenient, isn't it, that it's not working? Exactly. There's always an excuse.
Exactly.
Horrible people. That's the thing as well. It's the lies, the dishonesty. And this is about children.
What the reason why there is so many lies is because they thought from the beginning that we would just believe everything they said. You've got to bear in mind, when a crime happens and the police come to you and say this has happened, they don't show you anything. They just tell you what it is. That's all they did with us. They didn't show us anything. They just said this is what happened. Until you start speaking to the witnesses, going to the scene and then realizing what they said doesn't match up with what you're seeing, then speaking to the two that survived, because the car aimed at 5 children and it just narrowly 2 survived and 3 children were walking towards. And because Harry landed on the bonnet, the 5th child that was hit and the 3rd child to be murdered, it blocked their view and it smashed the windscreen. And I believe if Harry hadn't landed on the bonnet that night, that car would have aimed for the 3 children walking towards. I have no doubt about it. All 5 boys that were on that pavement, James, heard the kick down. They heard the kick down of the car. They turned, it mounted the pavement and aimed at them. It was an Audi and it was automatic. And that's why they heard the kick down.
And people,
and they all turned it was too late to jump out the way.
And people try and say that it, like, have the audacity to say, oh, it was an accident, it wasn't on purpose. Yes, it was deliberate. And that's the thing, it's 3 children, 3 innocent teenage boys that have their whole lives ahead of them. And this is why it's so important that you get justice, because nothing sadly can bring them back, but knowing that you've got them justice would go a long way, I imagine. And that's the thing. There's people that are actively denying you that. Politicians, the Attorney General, the people, you know, within the British establishment that have gone out of their way over the years to cover this up. It's shocking. It really is. And the fact that the sheer amount of evidence that you have as well, it frustrates me. What about if people like were to start emailing the Attorney General? Would that, I mean, I know it's not gonna, I'm just thinking of, you know, things that people can do to try and start putting pressure on.
The thing is, it's hard because even though that letter that Nick, you know, Heard wrote, which is a really strong letter and a really good letter to have, that was sent to the Attorney General and to Boris Johnson, and Boris Johnson had already seen that he was Prime Minister at the time. He'd already seen the collision report. So he already knew. But they just ignored it. So when another 2 Attorney Generals came into that position, I also sent it to them. And again, it just got ignored. And that's what they do. They just ignore you. See, I'll get an email and an email and an email, and I'll reply to that email. And then as soon as I stick a piece of evidence that is undeniable in that email, I don't get response anymore.
That's crazy. Well, it's not, because it's exactly what they're doing, isn't it? It's disgusting. I hate them. I hate them for what they've done. Hate them. They're 3 innocent boys and they need justice. And all of the people that have been involved in this cover-up, they need, you know, there has to be accountability. Those police officers need arresting. People need jailing. I'm going to play the rest. Well, I'm going to play the rest of the the video anyway, guys. Let me hit the play button.
Bus there is definitely a hotel. Yeah. I'd put the mortgage on that.
So it's very easy for an average person to miss it, but these are not natural light sources here. These are deliberate overblob layers that are just meant to hide any detail. You know, this is just outrageous, quite frankly.
Therefore, many of them, most statements are missing. We've spoken to many witnesses, so as the private investigators, and their statements are not in that bundle. Do you know how many statements there are mentioning this Horace Miller on this Ford Fiesta finesse? Many. Many.
So what vehicle are you saying this is?
It's a Vauxhall Corsa.
Yeah.
Registration roughly 2001 to 2003, based on its identifying marks.
Okay, so.
But what's important to remember, if it was
that car mentioned in the?
No, not at all.
So it's not traced at all.
Not only is it not traced, the statements say, let's say, from who Horace Miller, whoever he is, right, do not match up to the scene. Yeah. So not only was he not in a Ford Fiesta finesse, his statements don't match up to the scene. Yeah. So if you read his statements where he says the driver gets out of the car, runs and falls in front of my car. Wow. So whatever way you look at it, you can't go left and you can't go right. You can't say Horace Miller was in the car in front of the bus, because we know by looking at the CCTV that that car never saw a thing. Yeah, we also now know as well that that wasn't the Ford Fiesta. Yeah, so if you wanted to look at the car in front of the bus as being the Ford Fiesta, let's just say that the police wanted to look, you can't, because we know he didn't see nothing. And the car that left the scene, which wasn't a Ford Fiesta finesse, which is a Corsa, backed up by many people stating it's a Corsa, yeah? Not just 1, 2, because we make sure we back up from people who know what they're talking about, right? Which we've got evidence of. Doesn't match up to his statements. Let alone everything else we have that goes along with it as well.
What does Horace Miller say in his statement? Where does he say his car is?
He doesn't physically say my car is in front of a bus, but he states the driver gets out, runs, yeah, and falls in front of my car. Now, as you know, the car that he's close by is the car, yeah, on the CCTV, is the car that is in front of the bus.
Is there CCTV of the driver running out and running back?
Yeah, from a distance, that's on there.
I understand what you're saying.
I don't think you do.
I don't agree with it. You know, I do not. I do not think that this was a murder. I do think that it was a collision, and I think it was an absolutely tragedy what happened to your boys.
I'm actually quite ashamed that you're sitting there saying that.
I can only
woman to woman, mother
tell
to
you-
mother. I've just informed you that we have the evidence that we're willing to show you.
I'm more than happy
Hang
to
on,
see that,
hang
Tracy.
on. No, you've just stated something without even looking at anything. I've just informed you when I come in this room that the MP sent a letter with 4 points for a retrial. And you've just sat there and said that. You wasn't on the investigation team. You're obviously a coward and scared of whatever's going to happen to you. Yes, you are.
I'm not.
I'm telling you, woman to woman, you are.
Okay.
You wasn't
'Cause I'm not-
in that investigation, so
I'm
how
just-
would you know that?
I'm just saying from what I've seen of the investigation.
Which is what? What have you seen?
I'm not, Tracy.
No, it's interesting. I need to know. That's a normal question. What have you seen of the investigation?
I have read through the reports of the investigation.
What reports?
And from what I can understand, it is what I've said it
No,
is.
it's not.
Okay. So there is nothing that I have seen with regards to this that leads me to think that
What
you
have
just
you
said you hadn't
seen?
seen enough.
What have
So you're
you seen?
contradictory in how you've spoken.
Yeah, the question is,
Yeah.
what have you seen to base that opinion on? What?
So I've seen the initial reports.
So you've seen Simon Mow's collision report?
I've seen that, yes.
Right. Have you seen the CCTV evidence?
I've seen part of that, yes.
Which part?
I can't remember from, but I've seen some of it.
What part of the video did you see?
No,
Did you see a Ford Fiesta in the video?
I can't remember.
So all the police have got it wrong, and you
So what-
can't remember.
Come
Colin,
on,
do you not think this is a little bit suspicious yourself?
What are you saying that you're... So this is what I don't understand.
Right. What it is,
What
what I'm
is
trying to get
your-
through, there
Right.
wasn't a Ford Fiesta, and there
I know
wasn't
exactly
a
what
Horace
we're
Miller.
saying.
Do you not understand that?
We're saying.
Tracy.
You've contradicted yourself twice so far in this meeting, Jenny de Fabio.
There wasn't a Ford Fiesta there. Did you see a Ford Fiesta in the CCTV?
So you're saying there's not a full Fiesta?
You can see that by the vehicle that's being
So
driven.
you're saying that Horace has been planted? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. As I told you, I just told you he never saw it. And he wasn't in a Ford Fiesta finesse. There you go.
But we've got somebody called Horace Miller that has given a statement.
Yes.
So if you're saying that he's never seen it, then you're saying that he's been planted.
Oh, however you wish to put it.
So why are you saying he wasn't there though?
Colin, you do understand what I'm saying here.
I understand what you're saying.
Right, yeah, you do
But
understand
you're
what I'm
saying
saying.
that witness that was spoken to at the time
Yeah.
by officers
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. And it wasn't a Ford
why-
Fiesta finesse.
But why are you saying that it wasn't a Fiesta and that he wasn't there?
Because you're lying. Because the statements are lying. That's why. Because he wasn't there. We can prove to you that from the CCTV, and we can prove that to you from the witnesses who were there. So there's your answer.
So which witnesses who were there?
I'm not going
he
to give you their names because you know who was there. If you go through the list of witnesses, you can see who was there. You can see what adults were at that scene. You can see who helped the children, yeah, and who didn't help the children. You can see who stood by Tudor Sama, yeah. You've got the statements, you've got the evidence, and you know what I'm talking about. Statements that Horace Miller wrote do not match up to the scene. They do not match up to the CCTV evidence either. And they do not match up to what the witnesses are saying. Yeah. Everything we can pull apart. The lighting, everything.
If I give a statement, I'm an independent person, I give a statement to police for a purpose. That purpose is criminal prosecution. It doesn't automatically follow that you have the right to my statement. There are little things in that, and I don't want to get into it now. So when you say you're entitled to it, on any moral judgment, of course you are.
In a
Absolutely.
criminal, for a criminal
In
trial,
a
you are.
process,
Yeah.
in a process,
Yeah.
you might be, but that's the Crown Prosecution Service that would be entitled to it, not necessarily. There are niceties of law that sometimes defy common sense. And I don't want to make a comment here, and then you say, well, hold on a second, you said I could have everything. I've seen the list, I've seen some of it, and some of it makes perfect sense that you could have, and I'd see no reason why not. There are other elements on there, I can see why it might not be natural, because we would have to go to the person and say, are you okay for the family to have this statement? And they may say, not really. I would expect you to have been told that if you made a reasonable request for it. But so those practicalities, I think,
The way he just spoke to you, I've got to pause that there.
But I do think, given
the way that he just spoke to you then, that was fucking horrific. Like, who does he? How are you speaking to people like that?
At the time, he was the Deputy Commissioner of the Met Police. That's who he was. In that meeting, he claimed, well, I don't know nothing about, what's gone on or the story behind it. But when I walked into this meeting on the outside, before I got into the actual office where I was having the meeting with him and Nick Hurd and the other families, he said, hi, Tracy. As soon as he saw me walk through the door, he was like, hi, Tracy. So how can you say in the room you don't know anything about this story or anything that's gone on, but you knew who I was as soon as you saw me outside?
Yeah, they just, all they do is lie. They trip over themselves with the lies that they tell.
Yeah, what it was, because we showed evidence in that room, actual facts, his back's up against the wall. And he's annoyed. Yeah, he's annoyed. Because we showed
Just don't,
in that
like,
evidence.
Didn't like the way that or the way that the female copper spoke to you, trying to make out that you're not telling the truth. So,
Yeah, because when she was questioned, well, what have you seen? And all she kept saying was, I can't remember, because she knew she couldn't answer. Now, she wasn't involved in the initial investigation. She came after when we had to have a different team because they knew we were saying that these other coppers are lying. So she came in then. But after that meeting there, she'd been with the police force a very long time. After that, 3 months after that meeting, she left the police force.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
They get rid of them, don't they? They move them along, so you can never hold that person to account.
That's exactly why.
The same thing they do with the politicians as well.
Yeah. Remove the accountability, remove them, remove the accountability, then comes in another puppet. Then they create what they create, and then the same thing, move them along.
Yeah, evil bastard. Sorry for the swearing. It's so I can't, like I said, I can't imagine what you're still going through, Tracy, and the fact that you have to fight and then, you know, getting spoken to like shit by these people that are meant to be helping you. I just think it's disgraceful. But yeah, I'll hit the play button as well. I'm just going to put the kettle on and make a strong coffee because it's 2 a.m. And we've still got a little bit to go. But I am listening to it. I'm just making a coffee at the same time.
Where you are in your position, bearing in mind you're not now going to give the new evidence either to me or to the IAPC, then that new evidence has to go. You've limited yourself. I don't mean it to sound critical. You have one route now, which is through.
Well, it's not actually a case that we're not giving you the evidence. The Met Police have the CCTV, so go back to Alperton Police Station, get the CCTV, and watch it for yourself.
Okay, so I'm not going to start reinvestigating something without the grounds to do so. And whilst I've listened to everything that you said today, what I would ask for,
not just listen.
I've seen some CCTV, yes, and if I'm honest, I just don't know enough to interpret it the way you have. I'm not questioning what you have interpreted.
Yeah, it's not our interpretation. Nick's very good at writing things like that. You know that I understand that's your interpretation. No, these are facts.
And I don't doubt it.
All right. Listen, I know how corrupt everyone is. So until you start doing something to show me that there is some sort of honesty somewhere in your bones to do the wrongdoing, undo the wrongdoing, that your force that you represent, that does not have a good name anymore, yeah, for 3 murdered children. Could have been 5, could have been 8, because there was another 3 walking towards. And you imagine how you feel if that was yours.
It's not going away.
Matthew, just
Not going
for
away.
completeness, just so that everyone understands. Let's change plan. Let's change plan so that the families were happy for you to see everything that they've seen and look at it through their eyes with a new investigation team and for you to reopen the investigation. And just what would you actually?
Yeah, that's different if you open the investigation.
What would you?
So, an option,
what could you do? Yeah.
And I wouldn't commit in this room now.
No.
I'll be straightforward with you. It would be unfair to do so. What I would definitely commit to is to consider any new evidence, and I have within my part of my direct part, the Homicide and Serious Crime Review Group, which are experienced investigators that have all been senior investigators for homicide and other serious crime, and we will do a internal review. That is an option.
Internal review.
Well, it's an internal aspect. Is that they're all Met officers? I might as well be straight up with you.
I just part from my understanding, to know what Matthew might be able to enable if that were different.
Yeah.
So there is a team that could really look at the case,
but it's internal.
But
No.
Yeah, they're Met officers.
Yeah, no. Let me tell you just this one last thing. When I signed the victim impact statement, and the police officer, which is what I'll call them now, came round my house, and he told me it wasn't a crime against my son. It was a crime against the state. I'm telling you now, and you, that was a crime against my son. The state don't own my son. It was a crime against my son. That was a crime against me, his siblings, his family, his friends, and the same for George and Harry. And something needs to be done about it, because I won't give up doing what I'm doing.
No. Okay. Do you mind if I just keep this division between the performance of the police and securing a retrial?
Yeah.
So on securing a retrial, as we've all said, all the feedback of we need fresh evidence. It sounds like you're very clear in your mind that you have got fresh evidence. So in terms of how this might happen, my understanding is that as we've identified before, it's kind of the Attorney General.
Yeah. So
it starts with the most senior law officer in the land. I think you should have a meeting, and I will say that I think you should have a meeting. So that's what I will
Why
do.
couldn't you have got us that before then? What would be different this time to before? Twice we've tried now. And twice we've been.
Because, Trace, as I've always said it, everything I've heard back from the system, and you don't trust the system, I know that.
No, absolutely not.
Said
that's based
the
on
law took its course based on and the CPS felt that the process was done fairly, and two sets of different judges got to the same view. So if you're sitting there as the Attorney General thinking this has been through a process, everyone's telling me that the process was done properly. Of course, we've got families who don't agree with that. But what I'm saying here is you've come here saying this is new evidence. The only way you can reopen a case in a trial is through new evidence. You have brought new evidence. That is what I will tell the Attorney General, which is the reason why I will say I think you need to meet the families.
Just gonna pause it there a sec, because this was in response to the that's on the screen is about the Attorney General, and just alluding on from your point earlier, the fact that they claim to be servants of the public, yet they're clearly ignoring you and the evidence that you have. It's, the UK is not a just country as people like to portray.
Well, exactly that, it isn't. We was brought up believing that we had this great British justice system. But in fairness, what I will say is we got hold of the court bundle. And in that court bundle, it is filled with fake evidence. And that is the bundle that the judges would have seen. And they would have based their decision on what was in that court bundle. I mean, there was faked pictures in there.
And that's all they'll have seen is the court bundle. They won't have seen any of the evidence that you've got, just the bundle that's been...
They would have just seen, so it would have come from the police, filtered to the CPS, and then the CPS would have created this court bundle, and which would have been the evidence that the police gave to them. So in that court bundle, it's just fake.
Yeah, selective evidence. And like I remember you saying previously of them, going through the impact statements and taking the impact out of the victim impact statement, saying, oh, you can't put that in there, you can't write that in there.
Well, they did it, but you have to send your impact statement in weeks before, a few weeks before. Then it has to be okayed. So mine and the other families were in the day of court, just before we're going to read these statements. We're in a meeting with the prosecutor, who's meant to be the one there represent your children, who clearly told us he wasn't representing our children, he was representing the state. Then he didn't even pass it, he threw it across the table, our impact statements, with a lot of it crossed out. and told us if we didn't like it, we couldn't read it.
That's
So when I
despicable.
got on the, yeah, absolutely. And when I got on the stand, I see that the media were in there, and I just told the whole court what the prosecutor had done, that he'd crossed stuff out of my statement, which in their legal system is illegal, because when you do an impact statement, it's written on police witness statement paper, and you have to draw a line at the end. If you finish a sentence where there's a gap, you have to draw a line and initial it so that no one can add anything to it. Well, ours just got crossed out. And I said, and the judge was saying to me, please just read it, please just read it. And I was like, no, he's crossed it out, the prosecutor.
Horrific. I don't know how they can. I don't know how they're able to get away with it as well, because it's hiding everything basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Horrific. I'll press play. So MP Nick Hurd did write the letter. Since then, a further 2 Attorney Generals have also been sent the same letter. And to the date, we have again received no response.
Just watched part 1 of the documentary. There's a part 2, but as I said before, part 2 has to be kept for court. You see 2 witnesses in the documentary you've just watched. Since getting in contact with us and doing the filming with us, they have had threats, messages sent to them with my picture claiming to be me. And because of that, that is why we had to make the decision to cover up their faces and cover up their voices. Prior to that, they was happy to go on camera, show their faces, have their real voices. But after the threat they received, to keep them safe, we've had to cover up their voice and their face. I wish that we could give you everything that we know, but because our aim is to get into court, have the right charge put on all of those that were in that car that night, all of them. And the right charge is 3 times murder, 2 attempted murder. This was not death by dangerous driving. Far from it. But there's one thing that I want to ask the Met Police, and that I've never put out there before, which is, at the time our boys were murdered, there was the alleged Darren Osborne case going on. Why is it, on the day our boys were murdered, which was the day the prosecution had finished their case, and the actual case finished on the 2nd of February 2018. Why was it that one of those involved in that case was at the scene of our boys? Met Police? Why was he there? And why, just a few months after what happened to our boys, I had a woman approach me, pretending to be a victim. She wasn't a victim. But in meeting her, the one thing she wanted me to do was to go to Finsbury Park Mosque and have a picture taken with the in-man there. Why? Why would someone try and get me to do that? It's been a hard journey. It'll be 4 years next month. It's painful every day. And I shouldn't have to do this. I shouldn't have to do this at all. I had one copper throughout this whole 4 years say to me, "Don't stop fighting." I said, "I won't." And they said, "Make sure you don't." Now, it should have been that copper doing what I'm doing. Should have been all those coppers that night doing the investigation. But they didn't. They chose to cover the crime up. And I just want to add again that we have been fighting for the correct charge, not fighting the sentence. Not fighting the sentence. We've been trying to fight for the correct charge of 3 times murder, 2 attempted murder, which will then sort out the sentence itself. I can say to you that we have come across no evidence whatsoever for it to show that Chudasama was the driver that night. But that's not to say that he wasn't. That's just to inform you that we have not come across no evidence for that. Another thing the police did was the very next day when they interviewed Chudasama, they gave Chudasama and his solicitor the full names of the witnesses that were at the scene. Many of them children. Why would you do that? Why would you do that, Met Police? Why would you give one of the murderers and his solicitor the full name of the children who were at that scene the very next day? And we have the evidence of that. Also, Met Police that night, SO15 were at the scene. SO15 were there. We have that in the statements we have. In the paramedics' reports, it clearly states it was a gold-paged incident, which means the police took this all over. The police controlled all of this, and those emergency services, including the fire station that is on Shepperdston Lane itself, where the incident occurred. Which means it was tactical, operational, and strategic. And they divert all calls to a completely different control centre. You heard the woman who answered one of the 999 calls tell the caller to stay on the line and ask for the police. Ask for the police when it was a fire service remit. What they did to our poor boys was treat them as if they were nothing. That our boys didn't matter to them. They just cast them aside like they meant nothing. Yet they meant everything to us.
Justice for free. Just don't make you understand. We have to make the boys look away alone. Now we're gonna shame the police.
Justice for the free. I just don't think you understand. We need some boy to take away my boy. And now we're gonna shame the police.
Justice for the free. We have to make some noise. Look the way I bought it. Now we're gonna change the police.
So that was the documentary, guys. And for everybody that's in the chat, what I want you to remember is that, so we've seen the murder of 3 children that's been covered up, but then we've seen what the police have done. So the police used a fake witness. They tampered with the CCTV footage. You've got the Attorney General ignoring Tracy and many attempts to get a retrial for the boys. Over 50 Metropolitan Police officers have been involved in this. They know all about it. Their names have been listed on the screen. Politicians know about this. Boris Johnson knew about this. He was Prime Minister at one point, because I remember he was there on the election night, wasn't he, Trace? And the fact that they asked you to go to Finsbury Park Mosque and have a photo with the imam, like, after your son's just been murdered and they're telling you to go to the fucking mosque, like, the audacity of it as well. But yeah, I want people to know that, like, that Tracy spent a lot of time putting this together, and she spends all of her time looking at ways that she can move forward. So like I said, if you're not following any of Tracy's accounts already, please head over there and give them a follow and look at the videos that she puts out and talks about. No parent should ever have to go through what Tracy's gone through. You know, losing your child's bad enough, but in these circumstances, it's absolutely horrific. And like I've previously stated, the fact that you're still campaigning, you're still fighting, is testament to how strong you are as a woman. I'm honored to call you a friend. I really am, and I know that, like, there are good people out there that know what you're saying is true, and that don't believe all these idiots that have tried to smear this campaign. I mean, we all know what the movement as a whole can be like. But it's the fact that you've got the state and the police and everybody else that have tried their hardest to destroy this cause, and target anybody that speaks out about it. Really does, you know, it shows that they are covering something up. And I know for a fact that Tracy will be fighting for this until she gets justice, and we will eventually get justice for those boys. It has to happen. We can't be a country that tolerates people getting murdered and then there not being a sufficient punishment for it. Like, it's absolutely despicable that we as a society have now come to accept incidents like this as, oh yeah, it's really bad, but we're not going to do anything about it. We need to tribe up, come together and be a cohesive unit that doesn't allow this to happen. You know, when we were doing the yellow vest, if one of us got arrested, we'd be there at the police station, wouldn't we, Tracy, until they were let out. Like, there has to be that. We are this, like, we're all individuals, but when the time matters, we all pull together and we all come together. And especially in, you know, cases like this, like I said, 3 boys were murdered. The police have covered it up. They've used fake witnesses. They've doctored the CCTV footage, and they've used the mainstream media to twist the narrative and to twist the truth, basically. So sorry for going on, Tracy. It's just, obviously, you know full well that the boys' cause is something that's always been very close to my heart, and I've always tried to speak out about it when I can to people. And I'm just sorry that you're having to go through this.
No, thank you, James, and I just want to thank everyone that has sat. You know, it's nearly 2 hours we've been doing this now, that has sat there, took their time to watch it, took their time to listen, because it is important, not just for my son and those 2 boys and the family and the community, for everybody. because injustice just not should be allowed to happen. There's so many of them, and so many are hidden. You know, got to move on from being silent, and you know, a lot of people are ignorant to it. They turn, you know, if I don't listen, they turn a blind eye. It hasn't happened to me. Well, it could tomorrow. And would you want the support? I hope it doesn't, but it could tomorrow. And wouldn't you want support? Yes, you would. You know, changes have got to come. We can't keep going on like this and just be intolerant to the intolerance.
Oh, 100%. That intolerance has got us in this position. And we've become weak because of it. And do you know what? It's people need to stop self-censoring. They need to stop being scared. Like, I know that it's fine for people to be, oh, well, you can say it, you're out in Thailand. If I was in the UK, I'd be saying the same things. And if I was in the UK now, I'd be outside of Parliament with a banner every day. I wouldn't be leaving. I'd be camped up outside of Downing Street and I'd be there. And that would be my way of, this is because I know people say, oh, well, protesting doesn't do anything. It's like, well, in a way it doesn't, but at the same time it does, because if you're able to create the powerful image of people standing against the state, I think it helps, especially if it's a daily protest. You know, the stuff we did outside of Parliament every day, disrupting the news broadcast, it worked because it got so many people, you know, attention, and so many people came down to get involved and to support, you know, you, and to support the cause because they were inspired by what they had seen. So there has to be a visible presence on the streets. People just got to be wary of these groups. Like, you know, the Just Stop Oil group were brought in, and if you notice, they used the exact same tactics that we Yellow Vests had been using, and they brought them in so they could bring in legislation to stop people from doing stuff like that. Everything they do is calculated and it's despicable, and it doesn't matter whether it's the Labour Party, the Tories, or Reform. The outcome's still the same. I see a lot of people saying that, you know, Reform this, blah de blah. Me, I don't trust any of these politicians, not a single one of them, and it's because I know deep down that all of these people have a price. Ultimately, they have all the information that's available to us, and they still choose to make decisions and enforce policies that the British people despise. Like I said, Josh, Harry, and George should still be here today. They should be living their lives. You should be a happy woman, and you can't be happy because you've had your son taken away from you in the most horrific of circumstances. And it was really what you said at the start when you said, you know, he was going out to a friend's 16th birthday party and he never came home. Like, that really did, like, it resonate, not like, it really struck a thing, because it's like, you know, I think people sometimes, we take not take advantage, but we take things for granted and people for granted. And, you know, the way you described that it's heartbreaking, because no mother should have to bury her child, no mother, and no family should have to suffer like yours has had to suffer. I've spent time with your family, and, you know, your youngest son and your other children, and I've seen the effect that it's had on them. And meanwhile, that savage third world scumbag is, you know, living his life free among the general public, possibly ready and waiting to do it again. So yeah, thank you for coming on, Tracy, and for doing this, because I know it must be extremely difficult, but thank you for coming on and help, and yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, thanks, James. I only heard part of that. There's nothing wrong with my internet, but it's playing up a bit my end, so it keeps cutting out. You know, thank you for having me on and going through this again. We have to, because unfortunately people do forget about stories, because the media will throw another one in, and then another one in, and then another one in, and so on and so on. And it's very important, and the truth matters. And like I said earlier, we need to ensure that injustices do not become the norm, but are instead challenged and rectified. and we need to be listened to. Is that such a hard thing? You know, because every institution, even the appeal process in all those institutions, cover up for whatever you're appealing against. They cover up for each other. The system protects the system, and it's not right. My son mattered, those two boys mattered, children matter, and everybody, you all matter.
100%. And I think I'll end the stream on that note actually, because I'm pleased we've done this. We've gone for 2 hours and 16 minutes. So, and there's a good audience that have been watching. So like I said, please, if you didn't watch the entire documentary, please watch it again. Feel free to repost it, download it, upload it. Just show as many people as possible what's been going on in the United Kingdom and the lengths that they will go to silence the truth and silence families. So yeah, thank you to everybody that's been in the chat tonight. I will be back tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, usual time, for the For You page and whatever else we've been doing. But yeah, take care everybody, and I'll be back tomorrow. Take it easy.
Thank you everyone.